everybody. It's been a little bit since I made a video. Yeah, obviously the world's in a tough spot right now. So I'm a little overly empathetic about the world sometimes, and man, it's just hard, right? Anyway, yeah, I just want to make a video again. It's been a little while, I'm sorry. I intended to start recording this from the beginning, but circumstances just weren't quite allowing it. This is a cover I'm working on for the After Realm trade paperback. We're working on the solicitations for image. I believe it's scheduled for February, but we have to get the solicitation information ready now. And I did a couple of different sketches. I don't have it ready to show in front of you the different ideas that I had. But one of the things I wanted to do was sort of incorporate some images from the first couple issues. So as we could see, I reused the elves back here. They're the elements that appear later in the series, like the destroyed cities, some Celtic designs here that kind of frame her as she's walking in, and of course adult Una with her rune dice. I don't have too much to say, so I'm just going to go ahead and ink. I'll talk a little bit about tools that I'm using right now with these backgrounds. Well, in the foreground, I use my handy brush pen, where did I put it? The Kuretake brush pen. You've seen me talk about this quite a bit. Did most inking with that, as well as these, I think they're called Bimoji pens, also made by the same company who made the Kuretake pens. This is what the packaging looks like on these guys if you're looking online. Yeah, same company, Kuretake. I know I'm destroying that, I apologize. And only somewhere on the back there is the smallest reference to what the size of the tip is. So these are hard to find, but these are great. These are really good. They don't bleed. They dry pretty quickly. And the superfine is really good. You know, the only problem is because it's a felt tip marker, basically, it wears down. So I used a lot of this as well, and these two other pens. Basically all of these four are what I'm using. This is for the outlining of most of my inking figures. These two are for finer details, and then this is for fine details, but also using variation to the tip. When I scan this in, there's a couple things I want to fix, like this atrocious hand. When I penciled it, it looked good, like her hand was just, you know, kind of leaning back, and now it just looks like a knot with a couple of bricks sticking out of it. That happens sometimes. Some other minor touch-ups I'll do digitally, but generally I'm fairly happy with it. So I'm just gonna go right into inking these characters back here. I could also just, you know, obviously import it, just copy it from the original file, but you know, I want the original art to look good here because I don't have a lot of original art anymore. It's 50-50, you know. Oops, got a little wobbly. But you can see here how much variation you can get out of this pen. It's really nice. The only drawback of these is they do wear down, not fast, but you know, you should definitely buy them in batches because the finer tip kind of wears down. And when that happens, I'll put this marking on the top of the pen so that I know it's not super fine, but it's still really usable. All right, so let's have fun with these lines here. one of the reasons why I enjoy drawing elves is they all sort of look like Batman. These backgrounds here, I'll talk about it more when I switch to ink. I've grabbed off of Google SketchUp. I made some models of cities, or have models of cities. And I just kind of moved the camera around in different angles and cut out individual buildings and put them in here. And, using them as like a template, almost like a circle template or something. You draw in pencil and then you breathe life into with your inks. So I'll show you more of that when we get over there, but let's finish up these faces here. Gets pretty fine in here, and the original of this was larger, so I might end up using that micron to ink some of these details. So I wear this glove because it cuts down on friction. I have another glove, the white glove that I use when I have a lot of lead on the page. I actually prefer that because it covers this finger, which I find drags onto the paper, and that causes more friction actually than even down here, or just as much. So I have to be really careful, otherwise my fingernail or just finger in general will kind of get caught into the paper, and it creates a little bump in the lines or stuff. I'm gonna have to use the Pigment Micron. I started using, so the Pigment Micron 01, there's actually like a 05. I don't have many of those. I should probably get a couple. But I had started using the G Pen quills. Check out over here somewhere. These guys, and I've discovered they can get really, really thin, which is awesome. But I still need practice. I need to really practice using those so that I can use them, not just experimentally, but use them confidently, And these little pens you can get variation out of, either by going over it twice like this, but also just by applying some pressure. So no pressure here, barely touching, and then pushing in. Here I'm gonna, a couple tracing lines there or retracing lines give it a sense of thickness, but you really can just go so super light to harder. So I'm doing is pressing down and lightening up to get a really tiny variation line. I'm gonna have to touch that up. Kind of looks like she's winking or something, or squinting. One of the things I like about this image is not only is it kind of mythological, but this is Una's mother, like literally pointing, go out into the world. I have to draw a little something here. There you go. elf is sort of leaning, holding the sword slightly. There we go. I like the way that looks. Let's tackle moon and trees. I want a slightly edgier, excuse me, edgier look to the moon here. So I'm going to use this pen because I can get a nice, it's smooth but jagged at times, if that makes any sense. You know, I've kind of talked about the specific ways that this pen bleeds and creates these little tiny points of energy. It's the best I could put it. I don't know how to quite express what it is that these lines feel like when they're created by this pen, but yeah, there's just a lot of, I think pool players just call it English. Like the way you can hit a ball slightly off to the side or to the edge of the ball, it gives it a little extra spin. And that's kind of the way I can put it, excuse me, is that, yeah, this pen gives it a little extra English. It's kind of neat how the moon rubble sort of looks like it's becoming part of the building rubble. So, you know, putting these extra little tiny lines, so it's a relatively flat line with some variation, and then I'll put a little chunk in here every now and then like that, and it just helps give it more depth. And I brought the line down here around a little bit because it helps to frame her eye better instead of just, if I made this line straight here, it's almost a tangent, which in a way kind of works because it would help the eye flow from this direction going all the way through here right into her face. But I do like kind of framing it this way a little better. There's not always a right way to do certain things, even stuff like tangents. Tangents are like the enemy, but if you can control it, you can make the right choice. Tangents can be used in a way that emphasize instead of mess up or destroy the eye flow and the compositions. Yeah, and our last Kickstarter, it went well. Thank you all very, very much. now comes a thinking challenge, something I should have thought about while I was doing the layouts is the tree. Do I want to put a bunch of detail in here? You know, all of the different tree bark lines and flowing motions and stuff? Or should I just leave it as an outline? Because it's going to get pretty busy, especially with the logo there. That's a good question. Let me think about it a little bit. You know, and if I do leave it as outline, do I want to make this background black? Maybe. That might be a good move. Yeah, but I'm going to switch back over to this pen, the Pigment Micron for these buildings. So, Google SketchUp is a free 3D tool. And you just have to Google SketchUp or Google SketchUp, and it'll pop up. It's almost self-explanatory. You can obviously check out some YouTube videos for tutorials, and they have tutorials within Google SketchUp. But basically, it's just there's a bunch of free models that you can use. An artist can use as reference. Sometimes in a case like this, like I'll just kind of trace parts of it. Hopefully you'll see when I finish this that like my version of tracing something isn't a shortcut in the sense of not thinking or understanding how to do the thing, but using it as a breakdown, or like a circle template, you know, or a template that would have any other shape in there that you'd use. Well, some people will use these models directly. I've used them directly a few times. It all sort of depends on a multitude of things. From time. Time is almost always the dictator, honestly. How much time do I have? How much hours did I get to work today? Did I get to work today? Did I work yesterday? All these things sort of come into play. One thing I suggest is if you are doing something like this, like keep your thought process, your style, paramount over the model that you're using. Because I've fallen into the trap where I end up using so much of the model and like being really tight with all of it. I'm not really drawing what I would draw. I'm really just kind of emulating the thing underneath. And what I want is the thing underneath that I'm tracing to just serve as like a spine that I'm building something new around. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, like would this look like this if I didn't use the thing underneath? That's what I'm saying and thinking about consciously, because I want to make sure that I'm not losing who I am as an artist while I'm doing something like this. I will say I'm probably still putting more detail into it than I typically would if I just drew it freehand. But I don't know. I don't know. And I gotta admit, drawing city freehand stuff was something that I really actually enjoy. But sometimes, like I said, it's about time. Time is a budget almost more than money when it comes to drawing comics. These little lines in here kind of abstractly represent floors in the building. And I can use the guidelines underneath, like all these I don't know if you can see it, but there's like all these very fine lines in the building showing kind of like each floor. But I can use this as a guideline to create something different. There you go. Like here, let's do one of these things where sides of the building are divided by these lines, double lines. In fact, I'm going to switch this over to time lapse because this is going to take a while. And I know some of you will like watching me just do these lines all the way through, but it's probably going to be a good half hour, 40 minutes of nothing. Okay. Now I gotta think of this background. Yeah, I think I'll just leave the tree as an outline. And I'm not going to do, I don't know, I gotta think about if this is gonna be black or not. I'm thinking about the way it interacts with this background because I'll lose some of the depth, not only from the lines that, you know, are creating some depth, but also from like areas like this. So maybe I'll do sort of like a light coming from the city or fire. And then this will be black. But right now I'm going to fill in sort of the rest of these missing tree branch lines. All right, I think that's good here. I'm going to use this slightly thicker pen, the Bimoji. I mean, thicker compared to what I was using on the buildings. It's hard to say why, because the tree's not really here. None of the stuff is really here. It's a symbolic piece, right? Like of all these elements. But it does feel like the tree should be in front of the buildings in some way, even though there's all this weird overlapping and stuff. tree and tree branches are some of my favorite things to draw. Like a tree, not only am I a big old tree hugging type person, but when you're drawing a tree or painting it or whatever, it's almost pure composition. You know, like, I think the worst thing you could do when you draw a tree is to just draw a whole bunch of detail without it contributing to the eye or the larger piece. You know, it's a real opportunity to create something abstract that says something without saying anything. There's things that it says too, like it's nothing complicated. It's just space, how the eye goes. So this is about, you know, again, the left to right, moving the eye right down here. In fact, this will, so consciously I didn't do this, but since the logo will go here, you're going to see that really strongly, just coming right down to the character. And then the eyes going here. That hopefully kind of brings your eyes down to here. All this black on the side pinches everything, and then opens up again down here, hopefully. And that all begins with ye old abstract tree. I think the best tree artists out there, I know you're going to think I'm going to say Mignola. He's up there. But number one would be Charles Vess. Practically makes a living drawing trees. Or things that feel like trees. Also, a trick with tree branches is to remember that generally they will go from thick to thin. So I try to make sure that, like here, it kind of got thinner than up here, so it has to be even the same thickness or thicker. So the width from here, it can either stay consistent, but more than likely get thinner as it goes on. And then this branch that connects this branch definitely has to be thinner. If it was thicker, it would just break off and it would look weird. And it would look weird in a way you probably wouldn't even quite register. You just look at it like, oh, okay. He tried drawing a tree. It looks like a tree, but it doesn't feel like a tree. Can you hear Roman? He's getting ready to come up here and eat my brushes. That's my guess. I wonder why so many of us artists own cats when they are like the enemy of concentrating on work. And they like to eat your art, chew on the corners. That's right. I'm talking about you. Chew on your brushes, knock your pens over. Yeah, you. Yeah, that's kind of done there. Actually, wait. I think I'm done. Yeah, there's nothing really left to like trace on here and stuff. I mean, ink. Oh, I closed the door. That's the problem. Cats don't like closed doors. Hold on. Alrighty, I'm back. So what I'm going to do here is I am going to show you what was underneath here. Gently. So these were elements that I just drew, mostly digitally. You know, over on my Cintiq instead of my sketchbook and stuff, but it came together okay, so I was fine. Plus I knew I was going to add all of these elements. So these are Celtic designs, which I drew over myself or traced just to put my own touch on it from clip art, but just to make sure that it's mine, which I then again reinterpreted. Same thing with these buildings, are all just there for interpretation. I imported this particular image from the first issue cover. Just, you know, drew the rest of it. I needed some reference on these hands. These were tricky, trickier than I thought it was going to be. And this is art that I already drew of my dice and just threw them in there. And then, you know, again, once you ink it, like, you bring a whole new layer of life to it and stuff. And I mean, that's it. Sorry I didn't walk you guys through the entire process of this, but like I said, it's been some trying times, so it's not always easy to, you know, do stuff. I just have some other details that I'll add to this. Like, I don't like the way the silhouette of her head, you know, she's basically kind of like on rocks and stuff, and I want to put some grass, maybe some mushrooms in there. But right now, this looks too weird, you know, even when this is all filled in black. And you'll see on the finished YouTube here, I'll post the whole thing. Anyway, yeah, those are some things that I'm going to touch up. I'm going to add some details and stuff into these areas. And when I fill in the black here, it'll be more clear how it all comes together. And, you know, I just want to do a quick video because I've been behind. And so, again, sorry, I'm not going to walk you through everything, but there you go. I hope you guys have a good time out there. Things are safe. I hope the world becomes a more loving, empathetic place, and you know, we start looking out for each other and all that. Take care, guys.